In this third function example, we're doing a couple of different things here. We have our standard syntax of the keyword function, the name of our function, which is called roll dice, and then we have parameters that we can pass into it. Now these parameters have defaults, so if we choose not to pass these two values into the roll dice function, it will automatically choose 6 and 1 for us. Now in our previous function, we had two parameters here, and because we weren't setting any default, they're going to be required. And if we call this function without passing any parameters to it, then we'll get an error because we're going to start using these variables that don't actually exist yet. In our roll dice function, we anticipate this problem and we set a default just in case the user doesn't pass one. Now the goal of this function is to represent a virtual dice roller. We're letting the user select the maximum number. On a normal die it's 6, but there's plenty of other types of dice that require different numbers, and then the number of dice to roll at one time. Let's go ahead and look at the output of this real quick. What I'm going to do is recomment the previous print statement and uncomment the next one where we're using roll dice without any parameters being passed to it. I'm going to go ahead and save this and jump back to the browser. So we see the output here says the result of your roll was 3, and notice the brackets on either side. Now if the user rolls multiple dice, we'll see these numbers in brackets all the way across here. Let's go ahead and jump back to the code. So to build this output, we're starting out with an empty output variable, and then we're going to use a loop. This loop will run as many times as the number of dice that we have. And we're using a for loop structure because it's well suited for this. Now again, this takes 3 parts. Each part is separated with a semicolon. In the first part, we're initializing an incrementing variable, and we're starting it at 0. The next part is the condition that needs to be met in order to continue running through this loop. So the first time this runs, it will check to see if I, which equals 0, is less than the number of dice, which is 1 at this point. This third part increments this value, so the next time that this loop runs, I will equal 1. And for the default values here, num dice will be 1, and so the second time around, this condition will return false, and so this code will get skipped, and PHP will continue processing the rest of the code. For each item in this loop, what we're doing is selecting a random number between 1 and whatever the highest number is here. We're using a function that we used before called rand, which is short for random. The first parameter it takes is the lowest number that can be selected, and the second is the highest number. So we're passing that number straight from this parameter here. And finally, we're adding the result to the output by using a shorthand concatenation operator. So what we're doing here is saying output equals output plus whatever this text is. We're adding an opening bracket, we're adding the number, which is this random number here, and then the closing bracket. And we're adding some spaces around it just to give it a little bit of buffer between each result. Finally, once we have all of those results composited in our output variable, we're setting the output variable to say the result of your roll was, and then our result. And finally, we're going to return this. This return value will then get printed here, and we'll see the result of your roll was, and then one random number. Let's go ahead and take a look at one more call to this function that uses both parameters. We're going to recomment out this line and uncomment out the last one. Now in this one, we're passing the two parameters, 20, which is the highest number now, and then 10, which is the number of dice. So if we save this and jump back to the browser and refresh, you'll see that we now have results between 1 and 20 for 10 different dice rolls. Now hopefully this is exciting to you because we've come up with something that's practical. It solves a real-world problem of rolling different types of die of different amounts, and it was pretty easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the code.